Marcus had a plan. Not a vague, I'll figure it out someday plan. A real one. Written down, reviewed every January 1st with a glass of bourbon and a spreadsheet his wife Sandra called his altar. By 65, he would have $2.6 million. He'd retire to the coast of Maine, a small house on the water, a sailboat named after his daughter, mornings with no alarm clock. He had a folder on his desktop called After. Inside, properties in Bar Harbor, sailing courses, painting tutorials, a one-way flight to Portugal he'd been promising himself since 1987. That folder sat untouched for 22 years. At 61, Marcus was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. By 65, his hands had a tremor that made holding a paintbrush feel like threading a needle in an earthquake. The sailing instructor he finally called told him, gently, she couldn't take liability for a student with his condition on open water. He still retired at 65. The $2.6 million was there, almost to the dollar. But drawn around the statement, like a physical border, are small faded icons of all the things it was supposed to buy. A sailboat, a paintbrush, the Eiffel Tower, a hiking boot, all slightly grayed out. He opened the folder called After and quietly closed his laptop. My name is Phil. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't manage anyone's money. What I am is someone who watched 3 people I love arrive at the finish line of a life well planned and find that the finish line had moved. Marcus was my uncle. The second person was my college roommate, Kevin. 12-hour days at a consulting firm for 8 years, every adventure postponed, always almost there. Kevin had a stroke at 43. He survived, but almost there became a very different destination than the one he'd been navigating toward. The third person was me. No diagnosis, no dramatic collapse, just a Tuesday at 37, sitting in a conference room in Chicago, realizing I had not done a single thing in 4 years that I would remember on my deathbed. My calendar was full, my savings were growing, my life was producing nothing but future options I was too exhausted to exercise. What I'm about to tell you is not anti-retirement. It is a direct challenge to the single most dangerous assumption in modern financial culture, that you will be healthy, energetic, and physically capable at 65. You probably won't be, and the system that told you to save everything for that moment knew it and told you anyway. Physical capability peaks in your late 20s. After 35, the decline is steady, and it does not reverse. By 65, the average person has lost roughly 30% of muscle mass and nearly 40% of aerobic capacity compared to their peak. You are not saving money for a 65-year-old version of yourself who is just older and wiser. You are saving money for a fundamentally different physical organism that tires faster, recovers slower, and carries near certain odds of chronic illness. According to the CDC, 60% of Americans over 65 have at least one chronic condition limiting physical activity. And a major national survey found that 41% of retirees left the workforce earlier than planned, not by choice, but because their body made the decision for them. Marcus isn't the exception. Marcus is the median. The system isn't just wrong about this. It's wrong in a way that benefits the system. Your employer profits from you never taking extended time off. An employee who has spent 6 months hiking through Patagonia has a very different relationship with a fluorescent-lit conference room than one who has never left. That recalibration is the most dangerous thing an employee can develop. Financial institutions profit from every dollar sitting in a managed account for 40 years. Nobody at any major brokerage has an incentive to tell you to spend $18,000 on 6 months in Central America at 34. I'm not saying there's a room somewhere with executives plotting your misery. I'm saying the incentives are structurally misaligned and nobody tells you. Kevin's Someday folder contained a motorcycle trip through the American Southwest, a month in Japan during cherry blossom season, a sabbatical to read every book he'd bought and never opened, a trip to Iceland to see the Northern Lights. After the stroke, motorcycle trips are off the table permanently. Long-haul flights carry elevated risk of recurrence. The Iceland trip is technically possible, but Kevin told me he doesn't want to do it the way he'd have to do it now, carefully, with medical paperwork, with his wife watching for signs of fatigue. I wanted to go, not manage going. Someday never came. Someday became never, without a single moment where anyone said the word out loud. Marcus earned an average of $95,000 per year. He worked 32 years, maxed contributions, did everything by the book. Final balance, $2.6 million. Now, build the alternate Marcus. Same salary, same contribution rate, but one 6-month sabbatical every 5 years, starting at 30. Here's what most people don't understand about compound growth. It's weighted toward the later years. Missing contributions at 32 costs you far less than missing contributions at 58. Alternate Marcus arrives at 65 with $2.1 million and 36 months of memories taken during the decades when his nervous system was intact. Which Marcus is worth more? The accounting says the first. Every other metric says the second. Marcus died at 69, clear-headed until the end. That was the gift and the cruelty of his diagnosis. 6 months before he died, I asked him what he would have done differently. He was quiet for a long time. I thought the point was to arrive with the most. I was optimizing for the number. Every year I watched it grow and it felt like winning. I was winning the wrong game. I had 40 years of Tuesdays. I spent most of them waiting for life to start. I know what you're thinking. Mortgage, kids, student loans, responsibilities that don't pause. But examine one word carefully. Can't. Vietnam, Georgia, Mexico, Colombia. A single person living modestly spends $1,200 to $2,000 per month. 6 months at $1,800 is $10,800. With travel and buffer, call it $15,000 total. Save an additional $2,500 per year, $208 a month, and you have the fund in 6 years, on top of retirement contributions, not instead of them. The difference between someday and in 5 years I will be landing in Oaxaca is not financial, it's psychological. Money is renewable. Energy is not. If you spend money, you can earn more. Energy doesn't work this way. The physical capacity you have at 34 cannot be stored, deferred, or rolled over. Every experience that requires physical energy has an expiration date, and the expiration date is personal, unpredictable, and often arrives without warning. Marcus understood this at 68, lying in a bed in Portland, Maine, with $2.6 million in an account he would never spend on the things he'd saved it for. He understood it too late. I took my first sabbatical at 38, quit my job in Chicago, bought a one-way ticket to Southeast Asia. 3 months in Thailand learning to dive, 2 in Vietnam, 1 in Japan. I came back with $22,000 less in savings. I also came back different. My tolerance for meaningless work collapsed. My clarity about what I wanted from a single day sharpened in a way no amount of planning had ever managed. I found a better job in 11 weeks, higher salary. My manager said the sabbatical was the most interesting thing on my resume. The fear that it would end my career was the single biggest lie the system had sold me. 1. Calculate your actual number. Research real cost of living as a resident, not a tourist. Most people find it's between $12,000 and $20,000 when they do the math instead of guessing. 2. Name the experience now. A specific sentence. In 4 years, I am spending 6 months hiking the American Southwest. Vague goals produce vague behavior. Named goals produce calendar entries. 3. Open a separate account today. Call it exactly what you named in step 2. Every automatic transfer is a vote cast for the version of your life where someday has a date. 4. Talk to your employer, or decide you're willing to have a harder conversation. More companies offer sabbatical programs than you think. And be honest about whether you're willing to leave, take the time, and return to the market. Most people re-enter faster than they feared. 5. Design it for energy expenditure, not comfort. Design it around something your body can do right now that it may not be able to do in 20 years. Use the physical capability you have before it becomes the capability you used to have. After Marcus died, his daughter Sarah asked me to help go through his things. On his laptop, still protected with the years Sandra and Marcus got married, there was a folder on the desktop. She opened it. The Bar Harbor properties, the sailing courses, the painting tutorials, the Portugal flight screenshot dated 1987, yellowed at the edges even in digital form. Everything he was going to do once the number was right and the time was right and the conditions were finally right. Sarah didn't cry immediately. She just looked at the screen for a long time. Then she said quietly, "He was so ready." He was ready, just ready in a folder. Marcus had a folder called After. Kevin had a folder called Someday. I had a folder called When Things Settle Down. I deleted mine at 38 and bought the plane ticket. The body you have today is the most capable body you will ever have for the rest of your life. That's not a reason to be afraid. That's a reason to move.